Recognize. Umbra Walker. D01. Recognize. The Caleb G. D02.
Hello, team. Welcome back to the cave for a quick Intel update. I am everyone's favorite sidekick, Caleb, and of course we have here Mr. Rich Howard. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing good. Hey, everybody.
So, as we have established now, these Intel updates are quick little mini podcast episodes that we drop in more real time to our actual recording schedule because we record so far in advance, and we want to address real-time, real-world situations that are happening and talk to you guys, the listeners. So today we wanted to jump on here to knock out a few quick things. The first is an article that is apparently taking over the internet right now that Young Justice Season 3 will feature LGBTQ characters, and this is not something new because they've always been that way.
Yeah. Greg Weisman said pretty clearly that there's always been LGBTQ plus characters in the show. He did have some limitations based on Cartoon Network's, decisions to not be able to, have them holding hands or whatever. So he chose not to do that. That has all changed, though. At this point, we still don't know where Young Justice is going to air. But apparently, based on what Greg is saying, it's a new world now. Now, whether or not the idea of shows like Korra and Steven Universe and that kind of thing, which are opening the doors to showing that an LGBTQ character can be handled well and lovingly and with a good relationship and not just be a sexual character, is maybe breaking that ice so he can do stuff. But it also might be, say, on Netflix where, they're happy to have all representation that they can get. So how do you feel about it, Caleb?
I think it's great.
Yeah, I think we're both on the same page here, yeah.
Yeah, who cares?
Because who cares? Yeah, exactly.
Right. Superheroes are always a mirror of our own reality.
Yep.
It is a shiny, bright-colored spandex version of our own reality, but
Sure.
This is the world we live in right now. Things are changing for the better. They are making changes that are long overdue. And the fact that Young Justice is reflecting this change just reinforces how good a show it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first two seasons have always been about consequences, real stories, real emotions.
Yep.
Yeah, there's some silly superhero stuff in it, but as we talk about in all of our episodes, Young Justice does not pull its punches.
No. And good science fiction and good fantasy stories, any fiction story, it gives us a different view of our own world. That's the whole point. It's not just escapism, in my opinion. Escapism's fun, but when you walk out the other side of a movie or a comic book or a novel or a TV show and you realize you're now looking at the world a little differently than you did before because of the fact that maybe some of your walls were let down because you're really talking about, I don't know, mutants instead of racism, or whatever it happens to be. That's what good science fiction and fantasy does. You've seen it in Star Trek, Star Wars, blah, 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 So representation is representation. And Ishan Sherwood and I touched on it in our diversity episode as well about that the LGBT community wasn't really represented that much, but, now we kind of know why. There were some limitations put on it, but there are characters in the comics. I mean, Bunker is a classic Titans character these days, and and he's gay. So it's just representing what's in the comics and the actual population of the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. This is something that I am very happy to see in the show going forward. I think it is the right thing to do. I think it's a necessary thing to do. And I think it is very unfortunate that so many people have such strong negative opinions about this.
Yeah.
Rich and I have shared our more emphatic opinions off air because this is a family show.
Yeah. Caleb was going to have to bleep me a lot, so I got a little bit of that out and then walked around the house for a while and then sat back down.
And threw some silverware.
I did a little bit. Maybe something went across the room. So Greg Weisman actually, Greg Weisman got into a lot of conversations just recently with a number of different individuals on, say, Twitter. And one of them made a pretty straightforward statement saying, so you feel like you can make LGBT characters in the show without it feeling forced or pushing an agenda. And his answer was, if I can make straight characters without it feeling forced and pushing in some agenda, then why the hell not? And in this person's defense, they came back with, you make a good point. So that was good. And I feel the same way. We talked about this. There was another person who posted something about, way to sexualize a kid's cartoon. And it makes me feel like they've never seen Young Justice. Like, characters holding hands, characters kissing, Artemis literally saying something about having more fun with her clothes off. Like, I mean, it's very clear that, and she doesn't even say whether it's with a guy or a girl. Like, it's clearly has levels of teenage representation of romance and in some way sexualization. And I think it's this missing the point, the idea that if it's an LGBTQ character, then they must just be naked and having sex all the time. It's no more likely or necessary than a straight character doing the same thing. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. I don't want to have to get up and walk around again, but it's ridiculous.
And so let's not forget, we just recorded in real time here the episode about secrets. We just recorded that episode today.
Yep.
Very specifically, when McGann is putting a costume on Connor, he says, you are so going to pay for that later.
Yeah.
I don't think he's expecting a $5 bill.
Yeah.
Young Justice is about kids. It's about teenagers. It focuses on their emotions and the consequences that their physical choices have on their emotional and physical health. But It doesn't shy away from the fact that these are people with physical needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it certainly does not put them in the forefront. It does not make the fact that a male and a female who are in a relationship feel forced in any way. It doesn't do it wrongly. So changing the gender dynamics of whoever's in that relationship will be handled in the exact same mature fashion.
Yeah, that's the way I believe. He hasn't. The team hasn't done anything to tell us otherwise. Yeah. So anyway, I'm happy to see this. I think it'll be great. I think it'll be a good representation of healthy discussion. I think it's going to be fantastic. I have no issue with it at all.
And while Young Justice is obviously a kids show, it's certainly skewed towards older kids. And ultimately, it's the responsibility of the parent or guardian to be aware of what the children are watching.
Right, I agree. And if you feel like you have to have a discussion about an LGBTQ character, holding the hand of somebody else or flirting with somebody else, then you should probably also say that you feel like you need to do it for all the straight characters as well. It's just the same. It's the same conversation. Oh, look, they like each other. Okay, there's your conversation. It's really not that complicated. Anyway, again, my opinion.
Yeah, very, very clearly, these are our opinions. These are what Rich and I share.
Yep.
And if you have a different opinion, that's great. Everyone should have their own opinion. Let's just not be nasty about it.
Yeah, we both have a lot of friends and family members who are members of that spectrum, and I am happy to see them represented in a show or with heroes that I love so much. So.
Absolutely. All
right, let's move on to the next thing. Outside of that, we haven't had much more new news, yeah?
Correct. Yeah, there has been no other announcements about Season 3, where and when or what it will be. Of course, we will discuss that information as soon as it is released and confirmed. So Why don't we move on to something we do know about? And that's
which is that our listeners are awesome.
Absolutely. We love you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks. We have a few, we have quite a few reviews on iTunes, and we wanted to say thanks and share them with you guys. So if you'll indulge us, we want to say thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. As you all know, iTunes is kind of a weird metric for podcasts. The more ratings and reviews it gets, or a podcast gets, the easier it is to be found by new listeners. As of right now, we do have 12 5-star reviews and a big handful of ratings as well. We're going to go over those. Just recently, we did also get over onto Google Play. I have not yet figured out Google Play, so I don't know where the reviews and the ratings are. But
I know I need to do that too.
I'm sure they're there, so we'll give that some love as well. Let's knock a couple of these out here. Our oldest review is from October of last year, our good buddy DM Mitch from DM's Block Podcast. He just titles it with an emoji heart. And he says, "What can I say? I love both Caleb and Rich. You guys rock, and I love the passion you have put into this podcast. Keep on podcasting." Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks a lot, Mitch. The next one is Keep Binging This Podcast by Spooky Dan. This was in November, so you couldn't have binged us because I think we only had like 2 episodes out at the time. So Spooky Dan says, well, keep listening anyway. Absolutely binge it when there are more episodes. If you love Young Justice, if you love the DC animated universe, if you love comic book heroes in general, you will love this podcast. Rich and Caleb are clearly fanboys of the highest caliber. Check out the podcast and hashtag keep binging YJ. Thanks so much, Spooky Dan. That was awesome. We really appreciate it.
Our next one is titled Superwhelming from Meguro13. It's from November of last year. Young Justice is such a great show, and these two give it a great treatment with obvious dedication and passion, as well as substantial narrative and production insight. Well, thank you, Meguro13. Nice. That's very special. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Yeah, it does. It really does mean a lot. The next one is Feeling the Aster from our friend Neil, actually, Joe Moniak, friend of the show, and now, associate editor? What do we call him? I don't know. Lifesaver, possibly?
Lifesaver, the best person in the world to step in and volunteer to help us with this mess.
That's right. So this was before we buttered him up like this. He said, simply put, this is a great show that will leave you wanting more, just like Young Justice did. Rich and Caleb have enough passion that it exudes through your speakers and makes you want to watch Young Justice again and again and again. Can't wait for the next episode. Thanks, Neil. We love you.
Yeah, Neil, thank you so much. The next review here, again, is from November of last year. It is titled Definitely Give Them a Listen. It is from Stephanie, 1996 Figs. So excited, there's a podcast for one of my favorite shows ever. Thank you so much, guys. Well, you are welcome. This is our favorite show, too.
Very welcome. I know, exactly. The next one is Feeling the Aster from Monkey Pie. Oh, this is Quinn. This is our friend Monkey Pie Quinn. You're going to hear him in a couple of weeks blowing my mind about linguistics and psychology and storytelling. It's incredible. He says the show is wonderful, thoughtful examination of the narrative, characterization, and development of the Young Justice TV show. Additionally, the time taken to acknowledge, boost, and celebrate fan works is wonderful. This is the show I didn't know I needed in my life. Aw, thanks, Quinn. That's fantastic.
And remember that Quinn also has his own podcast, Swallows of the South. It is a fantastic actual play podcast using the Exalted 3rd Edition rule set, one of my very favorite actual plays to listen to. So swing over and check them out as well. Our next review is from December of 2016. It is titled Insightful Analysis of an Excellent Animated Series by Rydog Murphy. I'm going to say Rydog Murphy.
Rydog Murphy looks good.
Yeah. This show is perfect. The sections are perfectly named and break it down exactly the way it should. I laughed aloud the first time your computer recognized you. Your analyses are so on point. Really, really well done. I can't wait until I get to the episode where they have announced a season 3. I suspect I'm going to be a fan of the show for as long as you guys keep producing it. Thank you for your kind responses on Twitter and keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thanks, man. That's awesome.
We will definitely keep doing what we're doing. Thank you for enjoying everything. We spent so long figuring out what we were going to name these segments and how we were going to introduce everything. We just have weeks of email and Twitter conversations between
Months,
me and Rich.
Yeah. So we appreciate that everyone enjoys kind of how the breakdown ended up. So thank you so much. And then our most recent 5-star review is January 1st, 2017, our first one of the new year on the first day. Couldn't have asked for a better podcast from JJX. Your love for the show seriously is making me love YJ even more. I'm thrilled to hear it's becoming a twice-a-week podcast because I look forward to new episodes every Friday. Your commentary is insightful. Your banter is often hilarious. Thanks for giving fans a new way to revisit this amazing show and pouring so much positivity into your podcast. Thank you, man. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Every podcast says this. Every podcast means it. We would not be able to do this without the love and support and listenership of you guys out there. Taking the time to give us a review just means so much. It's such a great reward. Costs you guys nothing. It means the world to us. So thank you so very much. Something someone brought up in one of those reviews, and something we're going to bring up now, is our fan service.
Oh, yeah, please. Yeah.
As you guys know, we end every regular episode mentioning our fan service, something in the YJ or DC universe created by you, the fans. Guys, this is all Rich. Rich is pulling from his database of everything he loves to share about you guys, to share about Young Justice with you guys. That list has an endpoint, though. So we definitely want to get more feedback from you all out there about fan service stuff. Please drop us an email, drop us a link on Twitter, point us in the direction of something cool. Even if it's just some fun art on DeviantArt or someone's fan art, if it's fan fiction, if it's a cool thing on YouTube, if it's a cool website out there, we just want to share more. There's things in fan service that neither of us had seen before, and we've been watching this show forever and ever and ever. Yeah. So there is a lot out there to still learn and discover, so please help us. Point us in the direction, give us a shout out, and so we can highlight it.
Special shout out to our listener and listeners like Scarlet Catnip, who's just tweeted us on Twitter and said, "Hey, have you guys seen this thing?" And he sent us. I think it's he. When I looked at his Twitter account.
This individual has sent us. He, she, they sent us to some really, really cool stuff, and including, I think, Earth 27, which has led us to have some interviews with the creators of that project, and some upcoming artwork that we're going to have in our fan service. So please, if you've seen stuff like fan films and stuff and fan fiction pieces, I want to read them. Send them my way if you've come across them. And thanks so much for all that. And speaking of some new interviews that might be around the corner, the last thing we want to touch on here in this Intel update is that we have some cool interviews around the corner. And that is the most we can say.
Pretty much, yeah. So we are in contact. If you guys heard one of our previous episodes, we talked about the new year and what's coming up. We had some interviews set up with some of the production crew, but then once Young Justice Season 3 was announced, the production crew was kind of shut down on interviews. They went into a blackout with the PR department, which makes sense for Warner Brothers. Having said that, there are some people we have been talking with who are not under, we hope, those same restrictions. Some of the writers, artists from the comics, and even some of the voice talent. So we are in discussion with those people right now, and hopefully we'll get some of those interviews up as soon as we possibly can, and I hope you guys enjoy those.
Yeah, we love doing all of this stuff, and we will certainly do our best to bring some more exciting things to you. Of course, look for updates as we move forward on our social media. That is the most up-to-date and current. We will continue to do these Intel updates as we are able, just to give you some real-time interaction with us. We are not recording these 6 months ahead of time like we do with the regular episodes. As always, thank you for listening. We love you guys. Thank you for being part of this. And
stay whelmed, everybody.
See you later, armadillos. That's going to be my new outro. I'm just going to say that all the time now.
Oh, great. All right, cool.
You've been listening to Whelmed, the Young Justice Files podcast. Our computer is voiced by Madison Ray. Our theme was composed by Emily Mio. Our logo was created by Kevin Bates. Whelmed is a fan-made podcast and is not officially affiliated with DC Comics, DC Entertainment, Warner Brothers Animation, and any other owners of Young Justice or its related source material. As such, these companies have sole ownership of all symbols, images, names, logos, and proprietary material related to Young Justice. Original content of this podcast is ours under Creative Commons. Thanks for listening, and stay whelmed.